morning. I'd like to call to order the April 3rd morning session meeting of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners, and welcome each of you here this morning who are here in person in the boardroom, and also welcome those who are watching on the live stream on YouTube. Would like to first announce that Commissioner Dickie Braswell is out of the country and will not be with us this morning or this evening. And I will say on the video, I don't know if anyone was watching that, but we do have a list of our 6 priorities that we went and kind of renewed at our last planning retreat. And they are infrastructure, financial stewardship, land use, public safety, and county employees. I think is the items, each one of these items that you hear today on our agenda, and really all our agendas, you'll see these, one or more of these reflected in the discussion and in the items themselves. So with that, I will move on to the prayer and the pledge, and we'll start with the prayer by Commissioner Smith, and the pledge will be led by American Legion Post 405 of Pine Level. So if you would, please stand.
Lord God, we thank you today for who you are, the great Creator God who gives us both mercy and grace. We thank you for your providence to allow us to live in such a great county as Johnston County. We thank you that we've been spared some of the tornadoes and other disasters that others across the southeast have had. We thank you, Lord God, for our employees of Johnston County who work every day to make this a great place to live and a safe place to live. We would pray also that we as commissioners today and at any time would seek your wisdom and your guidance to make the best decisions for our people. And we pray all these things in the strong name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rangers lead the way.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'd all be seated. All right, the first item on the agenda is approval of this morning's agenda. Is there any need to have any other discussion on it? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda is, and we have a visit from 2023 Miss Cleveland and Miss Cleveland team. And we'll start off with 2023 Miss Cleveland, Mara Westbrook. So good morning, Miss Westbrook.
Good morning.
Good morning,
board. Good morning, everybody in the boardroom. I am Mara Westbrook, the current Miss Cleveland, and sorry, I feel like I need to turn around and talk to everyone, but I'll just face the board.
Yeah, they're going to watch you on the, yeah, they're going to watch you.
Oh, perfect, everyone can see. Again, my name is Mara Westbrook. I'm the current Miss Cleveland, which is a part of the Miss Johnston County Cleveland Scholarship Organization, which is an umbrella under the Miss North Carolina organization underneath the Miss America organization. So I'll have the opportunity to compete for Miss North Carolina in June, and if I'm able to win, I'll go on to Miss America in the following year. I'm a current senior at UNC Chapel Hill. I double major in Management Society and in Public Relations through the Husband School. And my future plans include getting my MBA and JD at a dual time, so through a dual program, hopefully at a good school somewhere around here. And then eventually moving back to North Carolina, investing in real estate, and then being able to move out into a larger city. My social initiative, or my community service initiative, is the Be With Purpose Foundation. It's a nonprofit, or a soon-to-be nonprofit, that I founded with the aims of eradicating homelessness and reducing pollution as well. So I have a 3-prong initiative that I'd love to implement in the Cleveland community, especially with the help of the Board of Commissioners. Part of that is, first off, implementing a community garden, or at least talking about implementing a community garden within the next few years, getting that on the boards and getting that on the task and understanding how we can keep that to fruition. Another part of that is a food waste initiative I have called #Waste with Purpose. That's partnering with local businesses and restaurants to reduce not only our food waste, but our general waste. Part of how we can do that is auditing ourselves, understanding where we're wasting and how we can reduce that, making a pledge to only ordering what we need, and then what is wasted, composting it, which can go back to the community garden, of course, and also partnering with local homeless shelters to redivert that waste to them, which is protected under the Bill Samaritan Good Protection Act. And then another thing that I'd love to do, or the third part of my initiative, is a 5K, and the fundraising from the 5K would go back to homeless shelters and also the Green Initiative or the community garden that I have, so implementing that here. So that's just what I'm wanting to do in the Cleveland community. I think it can raise our civic engagement and also benefit the community in ways of raising our environmental conservation and also just engaging people in looking out for one another in this community. So if we have any questions about my...
Any questions for Ms. Westbrook?
Questions?
Comments?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
It sounds like you got a lot of plans for Johnston County.
I do. I have a lot of plans. I'm currently partnering with the Women's Center in the Wake County area, so working with them, and I teach a yoga class on Tuesday mornings for the women there for enrichment time. So I'm hoping to do something similar with homeless shelters here as well. But part of that is just really focusing on my three-prong initiative in the Cleveland community at this time.
Yeah. We may have somebody on the back row back there. You could have yoga there too, say.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's all from me, and I thank you, and I look forward to your support through this.
We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. And now we have Miss Clevelandine Hanley Claire House. Good morning, Miss House.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So, a little bit about me is I am, of course, Miss Cleveland's teen, 2023. I'm a sophomore at Cleveland High School, and I was born and raised right here in Johnston County. I've danced competitively for 11 years. I've studied ballet across the country from New York City to San Francisco. I own a business. It's called Two Little Blondes, and it started when I was 11 years old. It is a personalization and customization design company. My business has helped me in so many ways. It has taught me confidence, financially, time management, service, and it has allowed me to give back to our community. So I have been able to donate over $1,000 to organizations in Johnston County as a result of my business. So in January, I competed for my first ever preliminary title for the first time, and Miss April Stevens is actually a judge. So I remember hearing that there would be a county commissioner on the panel. So thank you for that, and thank you guys for all of your work that you do for Johnston County. We appreciate you guys in so many ways. So my community service is Passion to Profit, and I empower young entrepreneurs because I am a young entrepreneur and small business owner myself. I am being able to help pay it forward by teaching other young people simple steps in owning their own business. So I have big plans to attend the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I will study architecture and design while performing on, hopefully, the Tar Heel dance team. I'm so excited that in June I'll be competing for the title of Miss North Carolina's Teen for the very first time. I'm a little nervous, but it's okay. But Johnston County, our Johnston County organization has had 14 first place runner-ups, and we are hoping for a winner this year. So I'm going to do my very best to bring that home to us. But thank you again for your time this morning, and I know that you guys are busy doing amazing things. So thank you for giving us a few minutes to share a little bit about ourselves.
Thank you for
Any
being here.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Miss House?
No, Chairman, I just want to say I did have the honor of being a part of interview and judging both of these pageants. And if you would see not only what they've accomplished, but what their aspirations are, it's very admirable. So it was very, very, very hard decisions throughout the entire day, but you can tell we've got some great people in the county.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very
Thank you.
impressive.
All right. Sure. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that long ago that we had the first Miss Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
trying to remember to move.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Good luck. All right, next up on the agenda, the consent agenda items, and we have 4 of those this meeting. We have approval of the minutes from March 6th, both the morning and evening session. We have a proclamation for Litter Sweep Spring 2023, which is the week of April 15th, or actually the 2 weeks of April 15th through April the 29th. And then we have some budget revisions for the Sheriff's Department and Social Services. And then we finally have the tax releases and refunds. So anything need to be pulled off the agenda, or do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion we approve the consent agenda items as listed.
All right, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the consent agenda items, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda items are approved. Next up, we have public comments. And just scanner, is there anyone here for public comments before I read the whole thing? Going once, twice, seeing none, we will, then Madam Clerk, we did not get any emails. Okay. Well, then we'll move on from the public comments, and we will get to a series of proclamations. And the first proclamation is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which is the week of April the 9th through April the 15th. We have our Director, Brent Renfro, here, and I think Commissioner Harris will actually read the proclamation for you. So, but what have you got anything to add to that before he does so?
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for the opportunity to stand before you. And I'll be very brief, share a little information with you. The 911 Center is a place. It's where we accept the calls from the public. I think y'all fairly understand that. I have some of my staff with me. Mr. Jimmy Tuberville and Mr. Morgan Harris work directly with the 911 side, and Ms. Tammy Amon, she represents the Sheriff's Department for their telecommunications. But we're all in the same room. We all work together. It's, we may work for different people, but we have the same common goal in mind, and that's to provide the utmost level of safety and care for our citizenry as possible. Sometimes I think that gets misconstrued a little because one group of people works for the sheriff, another group of people work for me. That's true, that's a true statement, but we all have the same common goal. And we work very well together. The sheriff could not be here this morning due to other obligations, but Ms. Amon, we work with her every day. And we have an outstanding group of people, totaling between the 2 departments, 55 telecommunicator staff that carry out the duties of protecting and accepting and dispatching the calls that come into our center on a daily basis. So I am asking that the proclamation, Commissioner Harris, if you don't mind, read the proclamation and approve the proclamation to honor our employees April the 9th through the 15th.
It's always an honor to get to talk about some of the great work that's being done by the employees here in Johnston County, and the 911 Center certainly is at the top of that list. So,
Mr. Vice Chairman, when he says daily, he means 24/7.
yes, he does. He does. They answer the calls regardless of what time it is. So National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 9th through the 15th, whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, the 911 Communications Center was created to provide a vital contribution to the quality of life enjoyed by citizens and visitors to Johnston County. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the access to a 911 center dramatically improves the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics. It is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the telecommunicators are trained, prepared, and ready, the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and EMS personnel are dependent upon their quality and accuracy of the information obtained from the citizens who telephone the 911 center
Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers, firefighters, and EMS personnel by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Johnston County 911 Communications Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each telecommunicator has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job. And whereas National Telecommunicators Week will serve to recognize the telecommunicators of Johnston County who provide a vital public safety service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Johnston County hereby proclaim and declare the week of April 9th through the 15th as National Telecommunicators Week in Johnston County in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and citizens safe. Adopted this 3rd day of April 2023. And Mr. Chairman, I'll make that in the form of a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, comments? All right, all in favor of approving the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Proclamation is approved.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. One more brief comment, and then I will be finished. One of the board's priorities was public safety. And it's very obvious to me as a county employee and as a taxpayer of this county that y'all have made that commitment. And it does not go unnoticed, and it is very well appreciated, and we appreciate your continued support.
All right. Thank you for working those priorities in there for us. Again, you got the public safety, financial stewardship, and county employees.
Good job.
Thank you for that. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Public Health Week proclamation. We have our Health Director, Dr. Marilyn Pearson, here to speak to that. And then following the proclamation, she will recognize our award-winning Environmental Health Director, Todd Ramsey, and tell us what he's done.
Well,
Dr.
good
Pearson.
morning.
Good morning.
And happy Public Health Week. This week is Public Health Week. We say April's Public Health Month. And we want to recognize our 157 or some odd employees. Our health department has 4 divisions: an administrative division, which includes vital records, birth and death certificates, a behavioral health division where we do walk-in crisis, environmental health division, inspections, of course, permitting, and a preventive health division where we have all of our clinic areas. Our employees make sacrifices every day to improve the health of the people here in our county. And whether everybody knows it or not, public health touches your lives every day in everything that you do. So I ask that you honor our employees this week with this resolution.
All right.
You want me to read
Mr.
it,
Bradley?
Doctor?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Whereas the Johnston County Public Health workforce is a critical component of our emergency response to natural and man-made disasters and widespread disease outbreaks in our county, including COVID-19. And whereas our county and state public health workers have been courageous, inventive, and tireless in their work to protect our residents from the threats of COVID-19 pandemic, while continuing to perform their other essential public health functions, oftentimes at the risk of their own safety and health. And whereas public health measures to control and eliminate infectious disease, improve environmental sanitation, and promote healthy lifestyle practices have been the greatest cause of improved health status and increased life expectancy for the residents of our county and all North Carolina residents. And whereas public health plays a critical role advancing health equality and preventing chronic disease and injuries, resulting in improved productivity and decreased health care costs for all North Carolinians. And whereas the Johnston County Board of Health is committed to a continued emphasis prevention in public health and to helping our county and all North Carolina reach a better state of health through actions outlined in the Healthy North Carolina 2030 objectives. And whereas communities, local health departments, employers, hospital and health care providers, individuals and families, insureds, county leaders and policymakers, faith-based communities, and schools and child care facilities must work together to identify and develop innovative solutions to health problems facing the people of Johnston County. And whereas the Johnston County Board of Commissioners encourage all residents to recognize that public health is working to ensure all residents are protected from threats such as COVID-19, influenza, foodborne disease, injury, and chronic disease such as diabetes, heart disease, and asthma. Whereas April the 3rd through the 9th, 2023 has been designated as National Public Health Week. Now therefore, we the members of Johnston County Board of Commissioners in regular session do hereby unanimously proclaim that April 3rd through the 9th, 2023 shall be designated as Public Health Week in Johnston County, and commend its observance to all county residents and convey our deepest gratitude to those public health professionals who serve our county every day. Mr. Chairman, I therefore move that we accept and approve this proclamation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? If not, yes, sir.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, I would say, Dr. Pearson's been on her job a long time, but I'm sure the last 3 years have really been the most challenging. And I just commend her and all her staff for what they've done throughout this difficult time.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? If not, all in favor of approving the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Proclamation is approved. I believe you have a part 2 for us.
Yes, thank you. Recognizing our employees, we actually have one employee that I want to specifically recognize today. Last week at the North Carolina Environmental Health Association meeting, Todd Ramsey, who is our Environmental Health Director, was recognized as the North Carolina Environmental Health Supervisor of the Year for 2022. Todd has worked for the Health Department for over 17 years. He's been the supervisor or director of our Environmental Health Division since January of 2017. He emphasizes the importance of teamwork. Before Todd was there, you know, we were separated. Of course, we're in different buildings. But he's made it a point that, you know, environmental health is a part of public health. We all work together, environmental health, behavioral health, preventive health division. He's been vital in having his team help us respond to this pandemic, particularly with assisted living homes, daycares, etc. He is committed to his staff, always willing to advocate at the local and the state level. He's actually a leader in the environmental health division at the state level. So I want to recognize Todd today. He's well deserving of this award. Todd Ramsey, you can come up. You want to say anything?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. P. Johnston County is a good place to live, but that didn't happen overnight. My wife is from here, and that's how I got here 18 years ago. I've been working with the county ever since, and it's been a pleasure. The leadership above me, Dr. Pearson, Rick, commissioners, I couldn't do my job without your support, and the community support also. It's just absolutely a pleasure to work for the county. I'm very humbled by this award. I feel like, you know, I don't have, personally, people that win this award generally have more experience than me and have done other things. So I was very humbled last week to receive the Supervisor of the Year. there's more work to be done. You know, there's more work to be done. So thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, I've
Yes,
had
sir.
an opportunity as a citizen, as a client, if you will, to deal with Mr. Ramsey, and I was very impressed with his technical expertise that his peers might not see every day, but they see the leadership and the way he handles things, and I commend him for that. Good job.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I'd like to add that I've had the honor of serving on the Board of Health for several years now, and it's really amazing to see the cohesiveness of that group and the commitment to serving the public. I mean, that's really what it's all about, and they are committed to doing that. Dr. Pearson, Todd, his group, I can't say enough good things about their ability to go out and work through situations and resolve difficult times, and you know, all that was tested during COVID-19, obviously, and but on a day-to-day basis, they're really doing an extraordinary job, and this recognition you have received is very well deserved, sir, and we congratulate you for that, and thank you for your leadership in the county. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other comments?
I just wanted to say I've had the opportunity to work with Todd multiple times as well. And, you know, one of my very first weeks as a county commissioner, one of my constituents called and they had a major septic tank issue. And I was like, I don't know what to do, but I know who does. And I didn't even realize. And of course, he got it squared away right away. And these people were in a really bad situation. So I was very grateful for that, to be able to help one of the citizens, as you always do. But, you know, I didn't even realize until I got into this position what his job all encompasses. The health department part, the restaurants, the food trucks, everything that you and your department actually do is so much more than septic permits and things like that. So kudos to y'all for not only winning an award, but being available for your citizens all the time.
All right. Anyone else? I will add a personal thanks. I won't say work with you in a professional sense, but I know I too call you with a lot of questions. I appreciate the time you take to spend with me, and I know many folks who have reached out to you and reached out to me to compliment you on the service that you and your team provide to all of Johnston County. So I want to thank you personally, and then for the other folks in the county. And again, we'd mentioned at the county level, but it is refreshing when I reach out to you and you talk about things on the state level that could impact us and allow us an opportunity to get involved and reach out to our folks in Raleigh to try to make a difference. And I thank you for being a leader not only in Johnston County but for the state of North Carolina. So thank you and continued success. The bar is now a little higher.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and commissioners. And before I step away from the podium, I do have to thank my staff. I have phenomenal staff. We're younger than we used to be, but phenomenal. I'm not environmental health. They are. Those 19 people over at the land use center that work for me, they're environmental health. I'm just there to guide and make sure the ship is getting steered in the right direction. So before I step away, I just want to thank them too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, another proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month, and DSS Director Scott Sabatina is going to present this. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So April is Prevent Child Abuse Prevention Month. The month of April, we're asking for the proclamation and your support. I want to thank a lot of people, but mostly in doing this work, we have to work with law enforcement, the hospitals, the health department, the court system. There's plenty of people that we work with that we really appreciate their support and our efforts. Just to give you a few statistics, we received 2,057 calls last year for suspected child abuse. Of those, 1,745 reports were assigned for assessment. There were 108 petitions filed for legal custody and 77 petitions filed for court oversight. There was an average of 154 children in the legal custody of the Department of Social Services during the year. There was an average of 60 children who were in the care of relatives during that month. And I'm happy to say my staff worked really, really hard. We had 12 adoptions last year, which is really, really good for the state averages is around 3. We had 12 in Johnston County. So the staff worked really, really hard. And also, before I read the proclamation, we are having an event on 4/20 from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Smith Collins Park. We'd love to see you come out and support our event. The community is going to be involved. We're going to have food trucks and different events to talk about prevention of child abuse and some of the things that we can help prevent, like safe sleep and with the summer coming, swimming, that sort of thing, how we can help prevent some of these things. So with the proclamation, Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation, whereas children are vital to our county and state's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, as well as being our most vulnerable assets, and whereas all children deserve to have a safe, stable, nurturing, and healthy homes and communities that foster their well-being, and whereas child abuse and neglect is a public responsibility affecting both the current and future quality of life, and whereas parents need support and resources to cope with stress and nurture their children to grow to their full potential, and whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created among citizens, human services agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Therefore, the Johnston County Board of Commissioners were asking that hereby proclaim April 23rd as Child Abuse Prevention Month and calls upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected officials, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live. And this will be adopted on the 3rd day of April 2023.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion we approve the proclamation as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor of approving the proclamation, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Proclamation is approved. Thank you, Mr.
Scott, tell me again the date and time for that gathering.
It is April 20th from 4:30 to 6:30, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, next up we have Marie Dodson with the Johnston County Consumer and Family Affairs, Advisory Committee to come forward with a proclamation for Mental Health Awareness Month. Ms. Dodson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to thank y'all. Y'all have been very, very good to our community. My predecessors with 911, which is very important. We now have 988 for people that have mental health emergencies. They can call that number 24/7 also. But I have to commend the 911 telecommunicators. They are awesome. I've had to call them myself for different reasons. We also have an outstanding health department that y'all take care of. They all fund it. You make sure it's great. I am so proud to be a resident of this county. We have a 20-bed unit in the mental health section of the hospital, which a lot of other counties can't say they have. We have an 8-bed emergency room overflow in that event. I understand we're working on a detox center again. We used to have one. We need one again. And I know you all are working on that, so I commend you on that. Also with social services, all this comes together. And right now, 1 in 4 people have some form of mental illness. I myself have major depressive disorder, and I live with it every day. Take medication, and most of the time I'm okay. I do have family support, which is really important, and also being aware of what's going on. We also have an outstanding, the CIT program, which is the first responders are able to go when someone's having a mental health emergency and try to talk them down and not have to use force to get somebody to go get help. But anyway, moving on, the Consumer Family Advisory Committee is tasked by general statute to address the unmet needs in the community. We represent folks like myself with a mental health disorder, some folks that have intellectual and developmental disabilities, they're called IDD for short. We like our acronyms. And we also have our substance use community, and we represent these folks, and we try to address y'all and address our legislators and our leaders in our state about the unmet needs in the county. So going on, what I would like to do is proclaim that Mental Health Awareness Month, whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, And whereas there is a strong body of research that supports specific tools that all Americans can use to better handle challenges and protect their health and well-being. And whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and with early and effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental health wellness and support prevention efforts. Whereas, as the chair of Johnston County Consumer and Advisory Committee, I, Elena Marie Dotson, and also the president of NAMI, Richard Anthony Callahan, we call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses and schools in Johnston County, North Carolina, to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Johnston County Consumer Advisory Committee, the Johnston County Board of Commissioners does here proclaim May 2023 is Mental Health Awareness Month in Johnston County and urges our citizens to commend its observance, proclaim this day, this third day of April 2023. Thank y'all.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Ms. Dodson for reading this proclamation and bringing it to our attention. She's been a strong advocate for mental health for a long time, and she currently represents, I'm on the Alliance Mental Health Board, and she represents Johnston County extremely well with the CFAC organization. And I must say, it's been mentioned earlier, Johnston County's come a long way, but one place we haven't come far enough is the mental health area. I think a lot of citizens throughout the entire country, with the events that's happened over the previous week and the previous months, indicate there's a lot of needs for mental health, to address the needs of mental health. Towards that end, I'd like to thank her for reading this proclamation and move that we adopt the proclamation as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? If not, all in favor of approval of the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Proclamation is approved. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Dodson.
very much.
I would like to mention one thing, if I may. We always, the thing that is closer to a heart is sometimes what's personal to us. So my concern, and I know Commissioner Harris and maybe Commissioner Godwin have been working on it, but the lack of adolescent mental health that we have in the county, and it's unacceptable. And I don't know who or what or where, but in this time and age of the society we live in, especially our teenagers, with the suicide prevention, you know, I know of a client that their 12-year-old spent 6 days at the emergency room in a 8x8 room for 6 days before she could be put into a center. And, you know, it was like being in jail. You know, the parents couldn't come, nobody could come. And so, and I'm not critical of the hospital or the emergency room because they have no choice. They have nothing else that they can do with adolescents. Our mental health staff over in Smithfield are geared to adult mental health crisis issues. So I'm just simply saying I really like to see us put a strong effort in what we can do. And I know we're part of Alliance, the 5, 6, 7 counties that we involved in. If they got an adolescent center in their county, I want one in Johnston County. Simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because that is a very, very difficult problem in this state in general. There's very few in this entire state. And another issue is that, I don't know if you're all aware, you probably are aware, when somebody's having a mental health emergency and they're being transported to a facility, sometimes they're handcuffed, which I understand if they're being violent, then you have to do that. But My granddaughter was transported to Jacksonville in Burn Moore, 13 years old, in the back of a sheriff's car. That is unacceptable to me. Treated like a prisoner. Now, it was a wake-up call for her. She's doing good now. But it happens. And thank you for saying that, Commissioner Braswell.
Thank you for what you do.
Appreciate
Thank
well,
you.
what y'all do. Thank you.
And I know you to be a strong advocate, so I know it'll get done, okay?
Yeah, I got a target on my back.
Well, I'm just going to add to that. I think what, and I don't know as much as they do, but I know we've had a lot of discussions about this, and I think what the Commissioner is saying is we want to help, so bring us some opportunities in ways that we can. We all agree this is an issue, and, we want to help.
We're working on attracting providers to come to this county. That's part of the problem. And also, we need physicians that are trained in this. And, they unfortunately can make more money over in Wake County, so that we're not attractive that way. So maybe we need to find other incentives. I think we'll work on it. We're all on the same page. Thank you very much.
We'll work any way we can, and you're right, because some of the psychiatrists that we have here in the county are excellent.
They really are.
But there's only a few that do adolescents. Most of them do.
I think we have one full-time at the mental health center. And I can't say enough about the facilities here.
Oh, they're great.
I mean, they're great. I use the mental health center. I can go anywhere. My husband's retired military. I can go anywhere, and I have Medicare. But I go there because I like the people there. I like how I'm treated. I go to the public health department. I feel like I'm walking into just a regular, nice doctor's office, treated with respect. I'm very proud of what we have in this county.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've come a long way. I've lived here since '95, so I am a transplant. But I love this county, and I've been doing mental health advocacy for 20 years. So it's you all have always been supportive of us. Thank you.
And mental health need not to be classified other than a disease. There's disease of the body, and there's disease of the brain.
It's all connected, and I think you remember, I tried to change the terminology for years. Brain health, brain disorder. When you say mental, it has like, it just has a negative, it's negative. But it's like, for me, it's like brain health. And the brain, it tells the body what to do. And if you have a physical condition, like right now, I'm recovering from total knee replacement. And that makes my depression worse because it's all connected. The pain's all connected. Well, thank you again.
Go get them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is proclamation for Older Americans Month, May of 2023. I think we have Mr. Neil Davis here to address it, and Commissioner Godwin, I think we'll read the actual proclamation. Neil?
Well, good morning, folks. Glad to be here. We've heard a lot of comments already today about partnerships here in the county, the Health Department, the Department of Social Services, 911, and Community and Senior Services is another component in that partnership. We work together with all of these folks and are very proud of every day of the collective work that is possible in this county, and it's all due to your support for making that so that we can do what we need to do. At Community and Senior Services, when you talk about aging programs, we have one overarching goal that we work toward every day, and that is to do anything we can to help a person to continue to live independently in their own home for as long as possible. Who would want to choose anywhere else to live if they have a safe and comfortable home to live in? And when you compare the cost effectiveness of that, comparing it to an assisted living facility or a nursing home, anytime you can keep someone at home, that's the most cost-effective choice that you can possibly have, as well as being one that is most preferable by the recipient and their families. So anything we can do to further that goal is what we're all about. We do that through several programs. One, of course, is nutrition. We deliver hundreds of meals every day, hot meals to folks who need those, and we do that primarily through volunteers to help get those out and delivered. We provide all types of counseling services that can range anywhere from mental health to tax preparation. We are the SHIP counselor facility for Johnston County. We provide activity programs and wellness programs. We have 6 nutrition sites, and we have 3 state-certified multi-purpose senior centers. And I'd like to note that our senior centers are, all you have to be is 50 years old and you're eligible to participate. As time has gone by, we have relaxed those eligibility rules statewide and nationwide to encourage people at a younger age to get involved in wellness programs and healthy living. And so if you look at Johnston County and do the arithmetic, at 50 years of age, that means 70,000 people are eligible to participate in our senior centers, which begs the questions, could we handle them if they all came, right? So healthy living programs and wellness programs are really what we're all about, with that overarching goal to help people to continue to live at home. And May is Older Americans Month nationwide, and we appreciate the opportunity to proclaim that here in Johnston County.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to proudly read this proclamation because it hits close to home. I've worked long and hard months to get to this point. Years. Whereas Johnston County includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their time, wisdom, and experience to our community. And whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have the opportunity to participate and live independently. And whereas Johnston County recognizes the need to create a community that offers the services and support older adults may need to make choices about how they age. And whereas Johnston County can work to build an even better community for our residents by not limiting our thinking about aging, exploring and combating stereotypes, emphasizing the many positive aspects of aging, inspiring older adults to push past traditional boundaries, and embracing our community's diversity. Whereas we appreciate Community and Senior Services of Johnston County for their value of inclusion and support in helping older adults successfully contribute to and benefit from their communities. Now therefore, we, the Board of Commissioners of Johnston County, do proclaim May 2023 to be Older Americans Month. We urge every resident to take time during this month to recognize older adults and the people who serve them as vital parts of our community. Proclaim this 3rd day of April 2023. Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt the proclamation.
Second. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? I would say, Commissioner Godwin, you had mentioned you had worked long and hard to get into the group. Somehow I woke up and found myself in the group.
Did you say 50, Neil? I'll remember that one.
When you get there?
When I get there.
All right. If there are no other comments, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Proclamation is approved. Before you step away, since we have you here, can you give us an update on the microtrans?
I was going to ask the same question.
I will be happy to do that, but before I do that, can I do one more quick recognition?
Sure.
If you remember last October, I made a request to our board of directors to begin a search for my replacement so I could step down and basically lighten my load a little bit and move over toward serving more focused in the area of transportation. So I want you to know there have been searching nationwide for an executive director for Community and Senior Services. And today is day one of my replacement's being on the job. And I said, what better way to start your first day on the job than to come to a commissioners meeting? So Josh Jensen's right here. If you'll say hello, wave your hands. This is him, okay? And we hope that you will find him to be well-knowledged and able to do all the things that need to be done. Did you want to make a comment?
I'll make a quick comment. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Josh Jensen. I've been in various aspects of senior care for almost 25 years, and I'm creeping up on that 50 thing myself. I wasn't... previously, let's say 25 years, the last 5 years, I've been the director of a very similar agency in Brevard County, Florida. Not a bad place to live, but we wanted to move closer to family, so we're in the process of relocating to North Carolina, and I'm very excited to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm going to use a rocket metaphor for Quick Ride, which is the new microtransit service here. We did a soft launch in early March, and we were successful with the launch, and we went through what we call maximum dynamic pressure, right, when you're reaching speed. and that had to do with getting the software to work right. And I'm pleased to say that we have gotten through 99.9% of that, and we're now moving toward orbit. We have done over 400 rides already in the month of March, and most of that occurred in the last 2 weeks. So the first couple of weeks was a very soft launch, very low profile. But as you can see, the interest has been gaining momentum very, very rapidly. It's working well. We have 5 vehicles on the road. The software app is working well. We can take cash payments. Folks who do not have the technology can call in by phone and request a ride that way. So all in all, it's a service that we wanted to find out what the actual demand might look like. And our intentions are to bring back a data-driven report to this board sometime in June to show you what the 3 months that we've been running this pilot look like. And together we'll figure out how do we go forward from there. But right now the indications are very, very positive that it's going to be a well and much needed program.
All right, and that right now the service area is limited to Smithfield, Selma, and does that include the airport? Does I remember something going up
It includes the airport. We included the detention center area, the JR property area, food hall, all the way up to Highway 39 in Selma where the school is, and on around back to the airport. So it's called a Smithfield-Selma zone, but it encompasses more than just the city limits. It's about 20 square miles of territory. The furthest distance from one point to the other is just over 7 miles. And with JCATS being based inside that zone, we're seeing wait times of 10 minutes or less, or averaging about 10 minutes. We're doing door-to-door service. We're not asking people to walk across the street to a virtual stop. All of our vehicles have wheelchair lift equipped facilities with them. Driver's assist with any companions or escorts that a person may need. Right now, if a person wants to bring a spouse and go to lunch, there's only one fare. So we're making it very easy for people to take advantage of public transportation.
That's all.
I got some suggestions and discussions I'd like to have with you, but I don't want to belabor this meeting, but I'd like to get together with you privately and talk about some possibilities.
Okay.
So do you know the phone number off? I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you know the phone number off the top of your head?
919-202-5030. Or you can go to jcats.org and download the app if you'd like to install that on your phone.
And it's quick ride?
Quick ride. We branded that separately from our traditional JCATS paratransit service to make it obvious to folks that it's a different type of service. So it's no eligibility requirements. It's public transportation. It's for anybody and everybody that is able to take advantage of it.
All right. I think I may give that a shot. For you talking about going to lunch, I may give that a shot
Okay.
here today. So
I will keep my fingers crossed that everything works well. Thank you very much.
Me too. Yeah.
Thank you, Neil.
We appreciate it. All right. All right. That concludes the proclamation portion of our agenda. Next up, we have our attorney, Jennifer Slusser, to present to us information for adopting a resolution for the purchase of a property at a school site.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before you have a resolution approving the amount to be spent by the Johnston County Board of Education to acquire real property to be used for a school project site. This action is required by North Carolina general statute, so that's why it's before you today. The request is to approve the purchase price of 20 acres located on Cleveland Road as the proposed site for a new elementary school, and the amount of that purchase price is $800,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
I so move to approve the resolution as presented.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Ms. Lesser. Next up, we have Chandra Farmer, our Director for Public Utilities, to discuss Pine Level Sewer Wastewater Pump Station improvements, proposed construction contract award, and budget revisions. Ms. Farmer?
Yes, we bid this project in, on March 8th, and we received 5 bids on this project. And this project, you may recall, has been included in our previously approved capital improvements plan. It's sort of phase 2 for additional wastewater capacity, bulk capacity service in the Pine Level area. The low bidder for this phase 2 project is AC Schultes of Carolina Incorporated. We have proposed a project budget to you which involves amendment of the existing budget. When we adopted the existing budget for the phase 1 of the project, which was the force main replacement portion, we included some funding for this phase 2 project, which is the pump station upsizing. And you can see the existing budget versus the proposed. There is quite a little bit of a difference here in the construction costs. Those original estimates, the scope changed for the project once we got in there and started looking at the wastewater pump station, so it does include more than the original, what the estimates were based on when we adopted the budget initially. So you can see funding for the proposed project budget. We have, there's some developer upsizing that's been included in this, our sewer fund appropriation, and then water and sewer revenue bonds. Phase 1 was included revenue bonds as well, but in order to proceed with phase 2, the request includes a budget revision that will move revenue bond proceeds that were originally designated for our 16-inch force main to Buffalo wastewater pump station project. Those bonds that were originally approved for that, we would like to move those over to our Pine Level force main and wastewater pump station project. That project's not quite ready to proceed yet. We're still designing on that one, so it makes sense to go ahead and spend these revenue bonds and those bond proceeds in this project. So we're recommending award of the project to AC Schultes of Carolina in the amount of $1,251,308, approval of the revised project budget, approval of the capital project ordinance, and approval of the budget revision to move the 2021 revenue bond proceeds from the 16-inch force main to Buffalo project to this Pine Level force main and wastewater pump station project. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No, I do thank you for the explanation on the difference between the original or the last estimate at nearly $400,000 and now it's $1.2 million. So thank you for explaining that for us. I did have, you mentioned the developer. Where is the developer project? What phase is that in right now? And does it have any potential slow up or anything on schedule?
So the developer reimbursement piece is a portion, the end of the force main that we upsized to 16-inch. And that's on the force main portion of the project, not the pump station. We have been working with the developer to finalize their piece. That we hope construction of that piece will be moving forward shortly to finish that portion of the force main.
Is there any potential conflicts on the scheduling? I don't know, we finish before they do or anything that's going to?
The pump station would not be finished
Okay.
before that they finish the force main. No.
Okay, so their schedule is kind of somewhat.
We received some
parallel
additional
ours.
information last week, so
Okay,
it seems that they're moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
The redirection of those funds from the bonds doesn't have anything to do with the bond aspect of it, does it?
No, it does not.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, do I hear a motion to award the project and revise the budgets?
I move it be approved as presented with the revisions.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion to award the project to AC Schultes of Carolina, Inc. in the amount of $1,251,308 to approve the revised project budget and associated capital project ordinance for the Pine Level Sewer Wastewater Pump Station improvements, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I be recorded as voting in favor of the school site?
Sure, I think Yeah, I think you were anyway, so. All right. Next up, we have Ms. Farmer continuing on with our sewer allocation policy discussion.
Yes, so at the request of the board, staff drafted a few months ago a wastewater allocation policy. The intent of this policy is to formalize priorities and the process for allocating future wastewater capacity for future projects. And we've presented that to the board. You have seen a draft of that policy, so I'm going to give you a brief overview of it, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions on the policy as it's currently written. And we'd love to have discussion on that and to see how we need to move forward. Okay. So the policy, the current draft policy, is very similar to the existing process for sewer allocations in that it's still essentially on a first-come, first-served basis, provided that capacity allocations are available. However, it is specific in talking about when allocations and capacities will be available. And phase one of that is our existing project where we're going to have 2 million we have 2 million gallons a day of available capacity to allocate. And the intent was to take that out of this initial 2 million gallons a day, we would take 200,000 gallons a day that would be reserved for economic development projects. It would stay reserved and it would remain available as additional projects are allocated. So after we take the 200,000 gallons a day that would be reserved for economic development, 60% of the remaining, which is 1,080,000 gallons a day, would be reserved to be allocated to our 4 bulk customers, Smithfield, Selma, Four Oaks, and Pine Level. And this would be allocated in accordance with the interlocal bulk wastewater agreements with those towns. Then the remainder, 40%, would be 720,000 gallons a day that would be available to be allocated to county retail customers. The allocation process does require an allocation permit. All new development would receive one of these permits that are county retail customers. And then of any existing development that requires additional capacity would also be subject to acquisition of, or approval of a allocation permit. The permit's currently structured to be approved by the Board of Commissioners, assuming the requested allocation is more than 5,000 gallons a day. And I'll detail that here shortly. The procedures. Retail customers would submit a written application and pay the allocation permit fee to the county. For residential development, this would be submitted with their preliminary subdivision plat when that goes to planning department for their preliminary approval process. Then other developments would submit their allocation permit request to public utilities when they submit their proposed site plan to be approved by the county. Bulk customers, the allocation process would be through the flow tracking permit that comes into public utilities, and then it would be allocated in accordance with the interlocal bulk agreements that are already in place and executed. Previously approved projects would be considered in accordance with this policy, and we would require them to adhere to the policy phasing plan that I will speak about here shortly. The allocation permit consideration process would be, again, as I said a while ago, the application would come into public utilities. We would present that to the Board of Commissioners. The board may consider whether the application is for land use consistent with the county's adopted policies concerning growth and development, and other factors may be identified by the Board of Commissioners in deliberations with either suggest that a particular application promotes or undermines public interest, public health, or safety, or the general welfare of the county. So I quoted that from the policy that gives the board some of that consideration option. Until the county allocates 2/3 of the total sewer capacity in phase 1 of the plant, which is that 2/3 of that original 2 million gallons a day. So until we allocate 1.3 million gallons a day, The Director of Utilities would approve the allocation permit if the requested capacity is less than 5,000 gallons a day, as I mentioned before. This would be with the exception of residential projects, which are considered priority 4 projects here we're getting ready to talk about. So the priority projects portion of the policy comes into play if the available capacity, once our available capacity is less than 1 million gallons a day, or if we receive requests that will exceed that available capacity. We've established the priority projects as follows. Priority 1 would be projects that already have vested rights, existing bulk capacity commitments, economic development projects, and county-funded projects. Priority 2 projects would include any additional bulk customer requests through those bulk agreements, Johnston County Public School projects. And then priority 3 would be industrial, other types of development such as industrial, commercial, and institutional development, such as charter schools, private schools, churches. And then the priority 4 projects, as I previously stated, would be residential development. The residential development must be in accordance with the Johnston County Residential Sewer Service Policy. And of course, we have an existing residential sewer service policy, but there may be amendments that come to that after we go through the land use planning process.
Chandra, can I stop you for just one second and ask a question? And I've just thought about this a little bit more since we had our last conversation. So can you walk me through in the public as well why Johnston County Public Schools would be considered a priority 2 versus a priority 1? If we had the need for the school, I'm assuming
they could certainly be moved to priority 1. Priority 1 was essentially established based on projects that there's some level of commitment to already on most of those, but it could certainly be moved to priority 1.
I just, for the public's knowledge and our knowledge too, that if we have a school coming online, it's not like we would pause it because we didn't have the capacity or we'd find a way to make it happen. I just wanted to clarify.
Right.
Thank you.
So priority 4 projects, as I said, are the residential projects. The proposed process for allocation to these is that they would, again, submit the allocation permit. It would come in when the project goes to the planning department to go through the approval process. But the policy also requires a phasing plan for the entire development. So if it's a large development, they would submit a phasing plan. And the policy currently would limit their capacity allocation to 50 units or 25% of the total units per year. So it would be whichever one is greater. So if it's a 400 lot subdivision, they would be limited to 100 lots per year that we would allocate their capacity to them. The policy would require those lots, whatever that maximum amount per year or less, would have to be recorded in those previously approved allocation before we approve the next allocation permit. So you've got to build out, commit, record those lots in your first allocation permit, then you could go to the next year, get your next allocation permit for your next phase, build out, record those lots. And as I mentioned earlier, of course, residential development, in accordance with our residential sewer service policy, I will remind you our existing residential sewer service policy limits residential development with public sewer service by the county to municipal transition districts, interstate highway interchange districts, or the outlying residential sewer service areas, which is more of the Cleveland area and then Highway 42 east of Clayton. But even in the outlying residential sewer service areas, the current policy requires the development to either be zone PUD, which under the current land use rules, PUD's not available for those entire areas right now, or the development has to be immediately adjacent to existing residential development that has public sewer and be able to gravity flow without requiring a new wastewater pump station. So there are limitations within that for residential developments to be eligible under the policy. Okay, so once the permit's obtained, what's the expiration process look like? Which this is something that we talked about would be very important when we started issuing these permits. I think this was a priority of the board to make sure we have this clearly established. So priority 1 and 2 projects would be required to submit their detailed construction drawings package within 1 year of the allocation permit approval. And then they would be required to commence construction of the approved construction drawings within 180 days. Priority 3 and 4 projects would be required to submit their construction drawings package for approval within 180 days of their allocation permit. And then they would be required to commence construction within 180 days of that plan approval as well. The reason that time frame is a little different between priority 1 and 2 and then priority 3 and 4 projects is many times these publicly funded type projects and some of these economic development projects that could be 1 and 2, there are different funding applications many times involved with those. There might be some EDA funding or Golden Leaf or something like that, and that typically requires a little bit of a longer time frame to get those approvals in order to be able to start your construction. So this is why we extended that for the priority 1 and 2 type projects. We do have a provision where the allocation permit may be extended in periods not to exceed 90 days per extension. And that would require extenuating circumstances to be presented to show that.
Do we have a list of extenuating circumstances?
We do. That has not been defined in the current
I didn't
draft
think we
of the
did.
policy. Yep. So that's an overview of the current draft. I would be happy to take any discussion or comments or direction that you might have and how we would want to look at moving forward with this and what revisions you would like.
All right. Any questions, comments? I have a couple. One is, I know we had discussion early on when we were developing the plan, talking about economic development and trying to balance that. I think, the 200,000 is a good number. It's a low number, so that we're not setting something aside and having to have users pay for that. So I think that's a reasonable number that provides some capacity there. I know we can change it and do more, but I do like that.
And that's important to keep in mind because when you talk about reserving for economic development, that's capacity that the utilities, public utilities, the enterprise fund is holding and cannot sell. So.
Absolutely. And I just want to check, so until we reach, I can't remember what the threshold was, where we go to the priority system, it's first come, first serve, and then within our 4 towns, it's the same for them, and then for development outside in the county's jurisdiction in the residential sewer service areas, it's the same thing, first come, first served.
Well, but the intent would be that 60% goes to the towns,
Yes,
40% to the retail customers.
Yeah, I was just going to deal with the first come, first served piece first, but
Yes,
yeah, and the
it is.
60-40 seems as reasonable a split as anything to me. And I just wanted to make sure, and I guess this may be one question rolled into 2 parts, but I saw that for the commercial or the development in priorities 3 and 4 was 180 days to get the plans in, and then another 180 days. So I guess that's more of a statement, and as long as it's correct, is that what that was?
That is the way it's drafted, yes.
Okay. So then I guess the other piece for me is, and this is the first time, the public has heard this, so is the plan for there to be some sort of at least public input from both the municipal
I was thinking the same.
and also any other stakeholders that may be involved?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We were hoping to get some direction from this board with the initial draft, and then we would talk with our stakeholders and community partners to get solicit input from them prior to bringing you back anything that was finalized. So this was essentially staff's first shot at putting together a proposed plan, and then we wanted to get some feedback from you, and then we would want to get it out to our stakeholders and get additional feedback and input. And we understand, as I know you do, that some of this may shift and tweak and change just a little bit as we're going through this land use process. So we're working on these contemporaneously, and I know that we're getting very close to the end of our comprehensive plan piece of things, but it's important to talk about both the sewer allocation policy and the land use plan together. Those are important things to consider.
Yeah, I know. As I'm looking and I see, Mr. Scott here from the manager at Smithfield here, who's obviously they're interested, and see some people from the development community here. So I know there's a lot of interest, and I think that's appropriate for us to reach out and get input for them as well. But I personally like the first draft. I hate when I looked at it and saw the January date on the startup when y'all got it to us, and but at least we're now addressing it and can move on to the next step. Any other?
I like the start, but you're always concerned about unintended consequences, so it would be good to hear from stakeholders.
Yeah, I agree.
I would agree with that, but I'd also feel like, I just wanted to commend the staff. I feel like you did exactly what we asked you to do in this outline, and gave us some phasing of all the things that we felt were important to make sure that we have capacity moving forward and we don't run into the same issues. So I feel like you answered all of our questions. Now we just got to get in the weeds, I guess.
Yeah. And I will say, the only, as far as municipalities, though, I know Clayton is building their own plant, so I don't think they should have any capacity issue, but I know they've bought some capacity in the past, so that was the only thing, as we mentioned, the 4 towns, and again, Clayton as the 5th, that shouldn't need anything else.
Well, you know, we have an interlocal agreement with Clayton. We have an agreement with Aqua, and we have an agreement with Carolina Water Service. So we have 2 private utilities, and then Clayton is another public utility that we have these specific agreements with. This policy is not structured for additional allocation to those entities. So any allocation, any consideration for additional capacity to those entities would require a board approval. I mean, it would require a specific agreement for anything additional to those entities. But currently, our planning does not involve additional allocation for those, as we've not been asked to.
Okay. All right, I just want to, yeah, I was curious how we would address that, particularly with the municipalities, less with Aqua and Carolina Water Systems.
And as Shander stated, this does not contemplate that. However, if that were to come up in the future, and we get to where we've got to do the phasing and that sort of thing, or the priorities, that would be priority 2.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Then with staff would develop some sort of schedule and reach out for public engagement and comments on that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's paper here. All right. Next up, well, it's a proclamation and appointments, and I'm going to go through this. We've got some appointments. I'm going to skip to the continued appointments. We have several appointments to our Fire Protection District Commissions, Firefighter Relief Fund, Board of Trustees, and Pleasant Grove Community Building Trustees. I think we have, and yeah, they're on the screen. I'm going to try to read all of those, but these are, they have the number of applicants at least match the number of openings, or maybe they're short, but at least we don't have to have a vote on those. So if you could take a quick look through those and see if there's a motion to approve these with the necessary waivers to approve these.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve with necessary waivers on the ones that are not going to be voted on by us.
All right, yeah,
I'll second that.
Yeah. All right, do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor of approving the appointments not requiring a vote, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we have 2 boards that we have more applicants than we have positions open. And for those, we will do as customary, we have ballots at each one of our spaces for us to vote. And those, I'll just read those 2 districts. We have Fire Protection District Commission, West Johnston. We have 3 applicants, excuse me, 4 applicants. Timothy Godwin, Travis Parrish, Jimmy Wilkins, and Zachary Webb Alexander have applied for appointment there. There are 3 positions open there, and they're 2-year terms. And then finally, we have Firefighters Relief Fund Board of Trustees. We have 2-year terms, and we have 1 slot open there and 2 applicants. The applicants for West Johnston Firefighters Relief Fund Board of Trustees are Trey Austin Pleasant and Travis Parrish. So if you, I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but Mr. Parrish has applied for both those spots that we have openings on in West Johnston. So if we will take our ballots up at the end of this meeting, and we will announce the results at the beginning of our evening session. So, all right. Next up, we have Jocelyn Andrews on our delinquent tax collection report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Before you, you have the February collections report. As you can see, we are looking at about $3 million at that time. We are now a month later, and I don't have those reports left to collect for the rest of the year. This is the tough time of year to collect it. But I assure you the staff is dedicated and is actively working to make that happen so that we can finish the last 4 months strong. I'll be happy to take any questions as it relates to this.
Jocelyn, I have a question,
Yes,
a
sir.
couple of questions. I'm sorry, I don't know this. I assume that RMV is motor vehicles.
That is correct. Registered motor vehicles, correct.
All right, what is NCVTS?
North Carolina Vehicle Tax, so it is the state system that was created 10, 15 roughly years ago, where tax and tag are together. So in other words, back in the day, prior to this system, the county was responsible for collecting the property taxes for motor vehicles, all right? This system, you can't renew the tags on your vehicle unless you pay the property tax as well, and that is the system that does it all. So this is registered motor vehicle, North Carolina Vehicle Tax System.
So both of them deal with motor vehicles?
That is correct.
All right, when you say February, is that just for the month?
That is correct.
And below is the year-to-date?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
That system changed, I think, during my first term, Commissioner Smith, that motor vehicle thing. It's from time around 2012, 13, somewhere along
It's
there.
been a while, yes.
All right.
I had a lot of misgivings about it, but it's really operated pretty well.
It has.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Andrews.
Thank you.
Next up, we have manager reports and comments. All right, then we'll go to board reports and comments. Mr. Godwin?
I would mention, Mr. Chairman, that I mentioned to Neil Davis a while ago with JCATS. And by the way, I would say, Neil, I was an advocate for hiring Neil into what was Council on Aging, and he's done an outstanding job. I hate to see him go, but I understand that's part of the evolution of life. But the transportation part, he and I have had a lot of discussions about that. And I wanted to talk to him and just throw this out as thinking out loud. We've talked about the diversity of the county. I'm talking about the wide spans geographically and the lack of concentration of residents that would allow for typical public transportation. But if it works in this micro test, Selma and Smithfield, I wonder if it could be adapted to other centers of the population, like in the Cleveland area or in Clayton, to operate on its own. It wouldn't be economical to drive buses from there over here, but if they could operate in that community, still be under JCATS, but just operate a small fleet here, a small fleet there, just something to look at. That might be a way we can provide those services for folks who can't get around without wasting money. Because I know that's been the problem with any mass transit. It's a big boondoggle.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things as we were discussing during our selection of the transportation plan consultant was,
Yeah.
you know, the DOT does a great job and a continuous job of trying to get people through Johnston County, and we need to start figuring out how to get them around in Johnston County. So I'm hoping we'll see some good results from the microtransit quick ride program. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly on the discussions on the mental health portion of it that we had earlier today, which are all very much on point. I just wanted to report back to the board that those meetings are continuing, involved all the players with the Department of Social Services, the Health Department, the hospital folks. Commissioner Godwin and I are there, the folks from, of course, our county manager and county attorney. just trying to work through whatever the solutions are. We do have some proposals back from Alliance that we're trying to work through now, and we will be putting together some, I guess proposals would be the best term to bring back to this board, and some options that we can do to help move that effort forward, because it is a tremendous problem, not only in Johnston County but also all over North Carolina. The mental health crisis is real, and it's something that we have to deal with, and we've got to get those folks the help that they need, and there's a lot more to come, so we'll keep you posted.
All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Braswell?
I do. I need to talk about my good friends with Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV. One of the most phone calls I get now is that mothers of 16-year-olds or 15-year-olds cannot get an appointment at DMV, and it takes 3 months. They book them 3 months out. I happen to be one of those also. And so now I think I'm scheduled an appointment sometime in June. Smithfield's not taking any appointments. So I got to say, our local representatives, Representative Strickland, Representative White, they're working on it, and they've reached out, and but I guess it's the same story. Hopefully the 10% raise that is included in the budget will get more people. But they say they don't have enough workers. You know, they got 30 openings throughout the system. That's all well and good, but that don't answer the problem, you know. So, you know, but I think Johnston County deserves better. I think the citizens of Johnston County deserve better. And I think those who need the service of Department of Motor Vehicles deserve better. In regard to first-time drivers, the teen drivers, you have to get their answer is, well, you can come and wait. You know, they may have you can see if anybody will, doesn't cancel or whatever, but here in Smithfield, they said there's no need of waiting because we don't have any appointments. So you have to get a certificate from the school that lasts 30 days to show to the DMV that are in school, enrolled, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I'm on my third one, my third 30-day certificate, because there's no opening. So finally, I don't know what I'm going to do in the summer when my June appointment gets here. But Secretary Boyette, we all know him. Eric's a good guy. But we've got to have support in the area of this. And, DMV needs to, I got a good idea. How about Saturday or something like that? But I'm not picking on them. I understand DMV Commissioner Goodwin has reached out to me. He's trying. But the only way we can do this, and we got DMV in Clayton, there's DMV in Wilson, there's DMV in Raleigh, and there's DMV in Goldsboro, and the earliest appointment is in June for every location. So we're in April now. So I encourage, if any of my good friends are listening from Raleigh or read our minutes, we need to do something because parents are frustrated. The elderly are frustrated, and everybody is frustrated. So I just want to bring that to attention, and I apologize for Braswell's rants today, okay?
Tony, does this only apply to new drivers, young drivers? I mean, what do they do?
Everything you have to do with DMV.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Do you have any rants, Commissioner Stevens?
No, I have to leave here and go to the DMV, so.
Well, don't tell him to sit next to Tony then.
It's okay, his license plate is different, but still.
No, I'm talking about the license.
I know, yeah, I know, I'm just, as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah.
All right, Commissioner Smith? No. I did have a couple of things, and I think most of you are aware. After the census, there was a, I guess, redefining of an urban area, and as it relates to our planning organizations for transportation. We're currently in, Johnston County is in two organizations. We're in the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization for essentially the western part of the county, Clayton, Archer Lodge, and kind of the Cleveland areas, maybe some of Wilson Mills, and then we're in the rest of the county is an Upper Coastal Plain Rural Planning Organization. With the Clayton and Archer Lodge area and Cleveland being recharacterized as a urbanized area, there is the potential for Clayton and Archer Lodge and the county to form its own planning organization. It would be a MPO. And so there's a lot of information out there. We've had a couple of meetings on that already, but at some point, this board in the not too distant future will need to send a letter to the DOT whether we want to be in our own planning organization or continue to stay in Campo. There may be some other options to include other towns in the county in Campo, but just wanted to put that on your radar. And if there's any questions, you can reach out to our Division 4, I think Keith Eason for that. And then also you can reach out to our RPO and our MPO if you have other questions on that as well, but not something we have to act on today, but something that will be coming to us, and Clayton and Archer Lodge will basically have a decision to make as well. So, and I don't want to get it, I'm not going to get it wrong, but basically what it boils down to is a decision between the county and the town of Clayton are the decision makers in that. Mr. Godwin, I know you're involved in that as well from the RPO side.
I have talked with a lot of informed people about this, and a lot of folks thinks we ought to be in our own MPO if that's possible, and it looks like it could be possible. We're one of 4 counties in the RPO, and I've been involved in that for several years. But I think we'd have a stronger position in terms of some of the funding formulas as our own MPO. We would lose, some of the county would lose some benefit as far as the planning organization in Campo. They have very good planners. They've got a lot of experience. But I don't know this, I mean, as a county, we're not losing that because we haven't had that. But overall, I think it would be a good thing if we had our own MPO. It's just my thinking.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as you talk to folks, there's not a clear answer to it, and there's pros and cons to doing both. And I think that's, we'll probably have to hear from some folks, more folks, at least I will, because I'm leaning the other way. But again, it's not clear. I mean, it's very muddy waters that we're looking into there. So just something to have on your radar. The other is this is National County Government Month, and I wanted to say thank you to the nearly 1,500 full-time and then part-time employees for all they do for this county, and I'll say specifically for this board, and making our roles a little bit easier, and by the quality work that they do for our citizens. We heard, today we had Todd Ramsey here, award winner from Environmental Health. So I think that all of our employees do a great job, and want to thank them for the effort and the work that they put in. So thank them for that.
Absolutely.
And that's all I have. So I think we have a motion to go into a closed session, after which we will not take any action. So.
Okay, I move that the board go into closed session for the purpose of consulting with an attorney employed by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A4, including but not limited to Davis versus McLeod, Johnston County 22 CVS 2109, and to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or businesses in the area pursuant to NCGS 143, 318, 11A4.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go into closed session for the reasons stated. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will go into closed session after a few minutes to clear the room. Thank you very much.